Just,
Yep.
yeah, what was Houston be able to do to prevent you from coming back?
You know, we had trouble guarding the ball. I thought their senior 25 made some really important plays when they needed it, and when we felt like we were getting it right there where it was a one-possession game. You know, they would come up with a loose ball or a rebound or whatever the case may be. So, no, they're a really good team. All credit to Houston. But, man, I'm super proud of. I'm just incredibly proud of this group.
Offensively, you turn the ball over the first two or three possessions of the game, and then you call a timeout. In the first play you run, you kind of run a screen to get Caleb a shot on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Were you just trying to get him the ball at that point?
Well, it's something we've run a few times, not a whole lot, a few times. Honestly, it was more a byproduct of we felt like he would get a clean look. That was really the reason on that action. I know exactly what you're talking about. We knew it would be very hard to get him long post, outer third touches because they were going to send multiple bodies. And we thought potentially we could create some scoring opportunities. We just had trouble kicking it out of the trap.
What sort of lessons did this team learn that you think will benefit the program?
I think there's a lot, and I may need time to process all that, Adam, fully, because there was as much in this season, like I said, in terms of just stuff that this team had to go through and deal with. The 5-game losing streak, you can go down the line. I've never had that with a group that much. So I think there is some real lessons in grit and perseverance and the importance of staying connected and the importance of having a group that believes in each other and believes in something.
Along those lines, do the last 2 weeks make you the proudest because you just weren't sure what was going to go down and then it just kind of came together?
Yeah, I think obviously I would have loved to get this group to the second weekend and feel bad that as a coach I was not able to do that. But like I said, I don't know that I've ever been more proud of a team. And it's really in light of this last 2.5, 3 weeks. I mean, it's just been a lot of really good stuff, a lot of gutsy performances, and it didn't look good there for a little while, as we all know.
I want to ask you, this is 20 minutes after the game, a tough time, a tough question to ask you, but you come away from this, again, feeling this is an NCAA program, seems to be on the upswing, guys coming in who can play, and as I look across your region, a lot of the schools you recruit against, Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Indiana, Illinois, Xavier, West Virginia, Dayton, none of them were in this tournament. Not to single any of them out, but does this whole run and everything that's happened this season and last season in a way kind of differentiate your brand and your program from some of the ones you're going against?
Well, we'll see, and we'll see how we continue and move forward. If you said to me, hey, I really look at, and so many, our freshmen were incredibly important to us. But if you said to me, why are we sitting here today? I would say it's because of the guys that were sitting in last year's locker room against Gonzaga. Mm-hmm. That's the improvement they made, the character they showed, and our freshmen were tremendous. But I think if we're going to continue to move forward, it's going to be because those guys in that locker room, this stings, and this stings in a really real way. As far as comparing to other programs, listen, I've said it, it's no guarantees. In the schools you rattled off, make it real for all of us that it's no guarantees to be here. But as we go through this together, I'm incredibly appreciative of this team this year and last year's team. I want to strive so hard to continue to move this forward. And I know how hard that is. Obviously, I know how hard it is to get here, to win a game, to win 2 games, to move forward. But, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because there's no guarantees. But I do think that being in this locker room and tasting victory and defeat can only help us moving forward.
When you say that it stings, obviously all season-ending losses sting. When you, by outside appearances, overachieved and gotten to where that you've gotten, why does that? I'm wondering why you say stings.
I just think because you know how. I think it goes back to a little bit what Steve was saying. Just because you know opportunities can be limited to do this, to advance. Like I still think back on the last 2 minutes of the Notre Dame game 4 years ago in the round of 32, and I honestly it haunts me in terms of. Because it was right there, and because you know how hard it is to get. So I just think when you get a taste of it, and you feel like you're close to it, I think that's why it makes it hard. Obviously, we would be in a completely different state and frame of mind had we been back at home instead of here. But nonetheless, it stings.
And the fact that your guys don't quit. That even though it was 6 points, 8 points, that I'm sure you just felt like you were a stop and a bucket away from.
We did. We just couldn't get. But that's true. That's C.J. Jackson, Keyshawn Woods, the Wessons. That's our freshmen. That's Musa. That's Kyle. That's all. It's all everybody that played there. That is who they are as people, and that's who they've been really this year. Like I said, it never had a year that's had this many opportunities for us to kind of pack it in.
Switching to Houston real quick, what you see on tape versus what you saw live, what really stood out?
They're maybe a little faster than I thought, although we thought they were fast. Their team quickness bothered us, and I think their collective athleticism bothered us a little bit. But they, in a lot of ways, they are who we thought they are, tough, a veteran group. And athletic.
When you list off all the things that you guys went through this year, whether it's the losing streak, the injuries, suspension, did you learn anything about yourself as a coach?
Yeah. You're gonna have to check my journal for that. But yeah, learned a lot of things.
I'm gonna get one of those secrets one day.
Yeah, you will one day.
I've seen a lot of guys on this team who are like 19 and younger. Moose is a 19-year-old sophomore. Obviously, you have the young guys. For them to experience sort of so much already, so early in their careers, just how is that going to help those young guys in particular?
We'll see, but it's probably, if you said to me, hey, what are you interested to see? That would be it, probably as much as anything. Like, how does this fuel us moving forward? Excuse me. What do we see in our guys? Here moving forward in the offseason. There's no question that I think being here last year helped Andre Wesson, who played an important role in those 2 games last year. I just think it did, because Andre will tell you, the reason that he is here is to play in the NCAA tournament. And it helped him have a great offseason, and he had a terrific junior year. So we'll see if that motivates and challenges other guys.
How will you approach the offseason assistants? I'm sure getting opportunities, and how likely do you think it is that we see the same group back next year?
Oh, I think you always experience some change across the board in your program in the offseason. I think that's expected now in college basketball, right? So, we anticipate that there'll be some of that, what all that looks like. I'm not sure, and haven't put a ton of thought into, but it's an expectation now in college basketball, and we'll see with our staff. I think I have an incredible staff, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone does reach out to them.
Chris, I know long term, simply just getting here is not the benchmark or the goal for the program, but when you took this job, was it what was the goal when you immediately got here? And now that you've been to the tournament twice in 2 years, people didn't really expect you guys to be here.
To get here as quick as possible, and I think I said that maybe in my press conference, or maybe the question, that really was the goal. How quickly could we get our group tasting March Madness and what that is? And we've got talented kids and talented players, and I didn't know when all that would happen, given all the changes that came upon us there and when we took over the program. But that was it, you know. Now, again, I didn't know. I'm not going to sit here and say I expected this in the first 2 years and 2 wins. No. But it was just get here with the process that we believe is the right way, and you're not going to mortgage your future for trying to get there in 1 year. I think there is a process to this, but at the same time, we want to stay committed to the process, and yet get here as quickly as we could. And you hear that all the time with guys who take over jobs. I'm glad I think we stayed committed and true to our process, and yet we were fortunate to be here, you know, these first 2 years.
And you advance that target forward now that you've been here in the first 2 years?
Yeah. I think consistency for one. The tough thing, as you guys all know, is I think if you just want to get here as consistently as you can and put yourself in position to advance, because there's no guarantees. There's plenty of good teams that are sitting home and headed home. But I think that the importance is building your team and your program where getting here is a consistent goal, and then advancing is a consistent goal. And that's the challenge in front of us.
Chris, looking at next year, I would think another challenge is guys stepped it up in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But that's got to be sort of the norm, right? I mean, you can't just kind of pick it up when the tournament comes. You know.
Yeah, I think the challenge for us is we got to find the way to be better in stretches in early conference. Obviously January and February. Now, you're going to take some hits. But I think looking back, that's an area where I got to figure out as a coach how to get us better in those months. And some of it was a byproduct of who we played, but as a coach, we've got to figure out how to get ourselves better in those moments. Because obviously we had a great start. It was a little bit of fool's gold with the schedule, in my opinion. But that's probably my challenge.
So you would expect a guy like Minnesota to get up a notch to start next year, having taken it up a notch.
All of our returners absolutely need to have. All of our returners need to kind of have the offseason that a guy like Andre Wesson had, and where he came back early and established himself as clearly a good player.
Right now, it looks like you'll have 3 freshmen and 4 sophomores next year, and Andre is the senior. You said that last offseason you were thrilled with how he was, but going into this offseason before his senior year, what are you looking for from him?
Well, he's been tremendous. I want him to grow in his leadership and his willingness to lead. But he's been a tremendous. He was tremendous for us this year. I think we saw, again, we're not here if Caleb doesn't have a much better sophomore season. Andre doesn't have a much better junior season. Kyle Young, before his injury, was on a track to have a really good year. Without the growth of so many of those guys, we wouldn't be here. So I just want to keep challenging him in that area to take ownership in the progress of our team.
What are you looking at for Caleb on and off the floor?
Yeah, we'll talk about that at some point. I just think he's a great kid, and he wants to do the right thing. I think the offseason is incredibly important. I think he had a good offseason last year. You saw it in kind of what he's added to his game. But there'll be time to discuss that more specifically.